Congratulations, you won it in Augusta, and it's great.
Thank you very much, Freddie. Just like a dream come true. The biggest thing that ever happened to me in my life, and even right after the match was over, I knew that I got to 1, 2, 3 count, but when I come up off a Harley race, I don't know if I just didn't realize it or couldn't even comprehend it. I don't know. Just like I said, I'm all fired up, excited, and I just like to think, I'd like to thank all the people, they've been with me all the way. I sit home is where the heart is, and there's no doubt about it. Georgia is my home, and I want to represent the belt for the people. And this isn't just my belt, it's the people's belt too, because, without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at today, Freddie.
From title belts to Hall of Fame, Doug and Tommy carved the name, fists of fury and hearts of gold. Every story, every fight retold, tales of glory, laughter, cry. Tennessee warriors with hearts open wide. In the ring or on the air, legends living without a care. On the mic they roar, on the mat they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Podcast kings ruling the waves. Memphis wrestling raising the stage.
Hey everybody, welcome back once again to Dangerous Conversations with Dangerous Doug Gilbert and Tommy Wildfire Rich. But for the second week in a row, Tommy, you're running solo, man. Your partner is not back yet, but he's subject to possibly run in at any time. Who knows?
You never know about Dangerous Doug. Hey, a big shout out to all the wrestling fans out there, man. Love how everybody's tuning in. Got a lot of comments. Sure do appreciate all of that. And just hope everybody had a great day today. And as far as Doug, yeah, he coming back from that Alaska trip. And he live. I don't know if he went fishing or not, but he live to got 8. I want him to go fish.
I'm excited to hear. I hadn't talked to him since he's been gone, so I'm excited to hear how that all went. I saw some pictures his wife posted. Looked like they had a really great time, and I know you told us, you had a great time when you went, so I'm sure they did.
Yes, sir. Well, you never know with Doug, but yeah, I think they had a good time. I don't know if he's had as good a time as I did. I don't know if he enjoyed it as much as I did. Well, but they had a good time.
I don't know if Doug ever has as good a time as you do. I mean, you're a fun guy.
I'd have a
Doug's a little more serious sometimes.
Yeah.
So speaking of fun, as this is coming out, we're recording this on Wednesday, just kind of give people a peek behind the curtain. But as people are hearing this, when it drops at midnight on Friday, tonight, you are headed to Shawneetown, Illinois. Going to be heading up there for the Shawneetown Cold Days, SICW. You're going to be in a street fight up there, Tommy. Are you ready for this?
Hey, at least I won't have to put that wrestling gear on. I'm going to just get out there and get it on. No, shoot, my boots, I went to get my boots out, and shoot, they stiff where I ain't been no street fight in probably 10 years. Maybe longer than that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, so well, it says you're going against Attila Khan. I don't think Attila Khan's ready for a street fight with Wildfire Tommy Rich, but they're going to find out tonight in Shawneetown. Make sure you're there. SICW is bringing a great show to town, and they're not stopping there, man. Tomorrow night.
It's a big festival they're having there.
Yeah, Cold Days Festival. So it's all kinds of great stuff.
It's to help with the fire department, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So. Fire department. So big shout out to all the fans around Shawneetown. You get the opportunity to come out. Not only you see some great wrestling, but you get to support the firemen. They don't get near the credit. Thank God I ain't never had to use them, but everybody that has had to have a fireman come at a bad time, they know what these guys do. And I'm just happy to be a part of the show. Want to say we'll be there signing autographs early. So just everybody come on out and let's support the fire department.
Now, we may have jumped the gun. Saturday night might be the one for the fire department, because Saturday night, you guys are going to be at Fireman's Hall in Collinsville, Illinois.
That's Fireman's Hall. That's right, too.
So there we go.
Yeah, so that's another one. I mean, we're going to be right there. I'm sorry. Yeah, but it's okay. I had the day mixed up. I'm just anxious.
There you are. Well, we got two different things going on. We got the Cold Days Festival going on in Shawneetown, and then y'all are going to be at the Fireman's Hall in Collinsville Saturday night for SICW. Doors are open at 6, bell time 7. Two great shows. Make sure you catch one of them if you're up there in Illinois, because Wildfire is coming to town, and they only got one street fight.
It's been a minute too. I used to wrestle when I was in Evansville. We'd go up sometimes to Illinois. So it's been a long time, man. So I'm pretty fired up because I had some Illinois wrestling fans back in the day. So I hope they still kicking it like I am, man. So hopefully everybody will turn out to be a heck of a crowd, and I'll get to see some old familiar faces.
Well, that ought to be a lot of fun. And I'll tell you what else is going to be fun. Next weekend, well, before the weekend, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Thursday, June the 12th. You guys, we've been talking about it for weeks. It's finally here. I know y'all been ready for it. The return to Mayfield, Kentucky, coming to the Mayfield Mayhem event for pro wrestling entertainment. You're going to be there, Tommy. Dangerous Doug's going to be there. And the King, Jerry Lawler, along with some other great talent, guys like Jeremiah Plunkett, different ones are going to be there. But, man, that ought to be a great event. Tickets start at only $10, so no reason for people not to come out there to Mayfield. Heck no, man. That's going to be good stuff. And speaking of good stuff.
Shoot, that's a 3-day tour there, man.
Yeah.
Like that song Willie sang. We on the road again. On the road again. I can't sing, but I'd sing you a couple of bars, but I ain't a very good singer. That's why I rap.
Well, good thing they didn't book you to sing up here at the Superman Festival. They booked you to sign autographs and wrestle, and you and Doug, the Memphis Mafia, y'all are two at the best of those things. So you'll be doing what you do best up there. What is it? I'm blanking out on the town. We've been talking about it for weeks. Metropolis.
Yeah, for the big Comic-Con there. Jerry the King Lawler, Jerry, me, and Doug's all going to be on tour this weekend. So, yeah, I'm fired up. Yeah, Metropolis, big Comic-Con, all the superheroes. So they have a real good turnout. Jerry the King Lawler, he's I like it. But Jerry Lawler lives it. I mean, I've been to his house, and well, I went one time. He invited me over. He took me through and showed me he had a Batmobile in the garage and had a Superman. I mean, he just any superhero that was a superhero, he had a picture of, sign, or he had the outfit or something.
He sure does, man. He's a big fan of it. I can't believe with it being the Superman Festival, I couldn't think of Metropolis.
I know.
What am I doing? Anyway,
I'm your
Metropolis,
kryptonite.
Illinois. 2 days of it. You certainly are. And for many years, you were Jerry Lawler's kryptonite. So I guess he's glad y'all are on the same page now.
I get him up there in Kentucky. Ain't no telling what'll happen to him.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's going to be mad if he finds out that last week I was on here talking about all that 1987 stuff and got it back on your mind again, because y'all may just go at it all over again next weekend after we got that started. But man, we've got so much great feedback on that.
Say it again. You never know.
Hey, it's 2 against 1. Unless he brings a partner we don't know about. You guys have got the advantage, but man, we've heard some really great feedback. People have loved that show, and so far it's one of our most downloaded episodes so far, Tommy. So people look back on that fondly, apparently. I know I do.
But that was the first time in probably wrestling history that the fans actually knew they was going to have a win-win situation, because nobody thought Lawler would get his hair cut. And nobody thought they'd get the money. I mean, but they had to give the money back. So they knew if Lawler got his head shaved, it was something that they didn't think was going to happen. So they was there to see it. But if not, then they's going to get their money back and see the whole wrestling show, not just Lawler's matches.
Yeah.
They see them 8 matches. So it was a win-win night for the wrestling fans, and that's always a good thing to see.
Douggilbertpodcast.com. We appreciate everybody that's checked out that episode, everybody that shared it. We really thank you. And if you would, share the podcast, douggilbertpodcast.com. If you'll share that link with people, that way they can find the podcast, they can find Doug and Tommy's social media, they can find the Dangerous Conversations Facebook, and you can keep up with everything these guys have got going on over there at douggilbertpodcast.com, and then you can follow the social media from there. But this week, Tommy, we named this episode is called Tommy's Titles, and we're going to talk a little bit about your history of championships in wrestling that goes all the way back to the year you debuted in wrestling in 1975. Do you remember, this isn't a trick question to try to stump you, but do you remember what the first title was you ever won?
It was in Memphis.
It was, I believe. Let me pull this up here. Now, they don't give me the exact result. I just know who your partners was, so there's a hint. It's tag team titles, 6-man tag team titles. If that tells you
Tojo. That would have been me and Tojo.
You, Tojo, and George Gulas were the 6-man tag team champions.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's one you could not pull out of your hat. You just start kicking my butt right off the get, man.
So, all right, that's a pretty infamous name in wrestling. There, over the years, people have said things good and bad about, George Gulas. Of course, he was son of promoter Nick Gulas. And people have debated over the years whether he got, we'll just say, opportunities that perhaps he wasn't exactly deserving of. What say you about George Gulas? What are your memories? And over time, people have really went, in on how, quote unquote, how bad he was. Was he that bad, or are people really just exaggerating over the years, or what? And
I don't mean no disrespect to him, but he probably wouldn't have been in the wrestling business if his dad hadn't been the owner. I mean, He never went nowhere else.
Right. Well, he split up a territory. I mean, that Jerry Jarrett split off.
Yeah. But I mean, and say what you want about Nick. Of course, he was, but when you wouldn't work with Nick, you knew you're gonna get screwed anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but like when I first started, Jerry Jarrett sent me and Tojo over to Nick's side so I could do some angles, not get burnt out in Memphis, and go over there and learn how to do angles. I learned how to work, and then you need to do the rest of it. So me and Tojo went over there, and if I'm not mistaken, the first thing we did was at the studio there in Chattanooga. I think that's Channel 13, maybe. But anyway, me and Tojo went there, and we wrestled it was Carl von Steiger and Otto Van Heller, I think it was. I know it was Carl von Steiger, and the other one was named Otto something. And that was the first time. It was the first time I ever got my head busted. Oh. And I bled all over that studio. I mean, it was ugly. And but Nick was always, you knew you wasn't going to get rich working for him, but I was learning. And I don't know, I heard some of the other guys, once you got on top, once I got up there, I thought maybe a couple of times I might have made a little more on some of them shows. Yeah. But I remember me and Tojo, we would leave. You'd leave Nashville and get up at like 5 a.m. You'd have to drive to a live TV in Birmingham, which started, I think, at 9. You do that one, then you jump in and you made $15. You made $15. Then you jump in the car and run to Chattanooga, do the TV there, and then another $15, and then you do the house show that night in Chattanooga, and you'd make a payday. I mean, of course, when the business is good, you get paid better anyway. So, but it was a learning phase for me. So, I mean, I didn't complain a bit. I was 18, doing something I thought I'd never probably ever get to do. So, I was happy.
Man, yeah. I mean, an invaluable experience that guys today just don't have the opportunity to get. You're not, you're on the road, you're working 3 times that day, and that's just one day out of the week. And guys now might not work 3 times in a week, if that, So.
And that's the thing too. I mean, you can learn so much at a wrestling school, but how you learn, I mean, to get the psychology, you got to listen to people, so to get to go and wrestle 6 nights a week, that's like going to college. It was an education. And, you might do good. You might just start learning, say, in Tennessee like I did, and then get the opportunity to go to Atlanta. And Jerry says, well, hey, this kid's come a long way. And if you got there and did something, then they'd move you on up. But the bottom line is, when you're working 6 days a week, even if you're underneath, you could still do something you love and at least make a living. Right.
Right.
I mean, like you said, I mean, I wrestled 6 times a week, but that might have been 9 times counting TV. I mean, so
Yeah, that's true.
And see, so that's all the repetitions. You get to do it every night, and plus the crowd might be different here than it is at the next town. So that's where you get that psychology. So, and it's hard just working. Like I asked a boy the other night, he told me, he said, I've been working 10 years, and because he's a younger boy, so I knew. I said, well, how many matches you think you had? He said, and he told me, I said, you probably don't wrestle about one time. Same thing you just said, because the opportunity ain't out there. If you're lucky, you can do a Friday and Saturday. I mean,
it's a big weekend there.
That's exactly. I mean, in the in the world of independent wrestling, I mean, it is. I mean, to get a 3-day run, man, is excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what I think you probably had in mind. Your first singles title, it comes up on in February of 1976. You defeated Jerry Lawler in a no disqualification match at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. A long time. 1976. Shoot, I was still a pup back then. But yeah, that it was sold out, man. And Jerry Lawler, whether you liked him, loved him, or hated him, he was an entertainer in that ring. I mean, he's one of the easiest folks I ever had to wrestle. I mean, you knew he was going to make money, Jerry, because he knew how, very good ring psychology, and he just knew, and he knew that, say, I'd draw money with him. So we worked together, but I've learned a whole lot from him, especially starting out, so yeah, I mean, but Jerry Jarrett and all of them, I mean, Tojo, God bless him. And, of course, back then you didn't do nothing but listen. Today, in today's world now, these kids, they don't give a dog stink. They'd rather tell you what you gonna do. So the business has changed a lot in that aspect of it. And I think that's because they don't wrestle 6-7 times a week. You got to learn to get along, and you got to learn to listen.
Yeah, they don't put enough value on all the knowledge that guys like you and Doug and, the rare opportunities they get to be around you guys. You think they'd sit there and want to pick your brain, but instead they're just going, hey, let's do this and do that and do this and do this and that and this. And you guys are like, no, we're not doing all that because you know better,
And some of them, yeah. But they don't know the wrestling history either. They had their buddy down the street, like probably 70% of them wouldn't be on the independent circuit right now if it was back in the day. Oh, no. Because what happens, and it's bad enough they don't get the repetition. Yeah. And I mean, it just they just go down the street. They have buddies say, hey, we got a show going on down here, and they'll just go buy them a pair of tights and put and half the time they don't know a wrist lock from a wrist watch, So, and that hurts too. I mean, but it's not like they don't want to learn because they think they already know it, And but it's not having the guys around because they wrestle the same guys all the time. I mean, they might bring me in or Jerry Lawler in for a show, but it's not a whole good you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No. It's hard to learn if you eat apple, you're going to make chicken salad. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And like you were talking about before, it's like you were wrestling all these different guys with all this different experience. They've been all these different places. But if you're wrestling the same 10 guys that wrestles the same show you're on, who all wrestle that same 10 guys every Friday night in, whatever town you're in, what are you going to learn from each other? You all do the same thing. You all know the same thing. You're never going to get any better because you're not learning anything. You're just,
But they telling each other it was great.
Oh, yeah.
Man, that was great.
Did that spot we saw on Raw Monday night, did it just like they did. It was perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's where they get what they do too. They just watch Raw. They don't go work out and practice or nothing. They just see it and do it. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're just going to kind of go through, the title. We're not going to get anywhere close to through your titles. You had a lot of titles, but we're going to kind of go through. And next title was the Mid-America Tag Team title with Superstar Bill Dundee. That was in July of 76. Won the Southern Heavyweight title a couple more times. Then you became the Mid-America Heavyweight Champion. There you defeated the Russian Stomper at the Fairgrounds in Nashville on December 22nd, 1976.
Man, that was very suitable too, because I went up to Knoxville, Tennessee, and I wrestled RJ. I wrestled the Mongolian Stomper up there in his outside. He beat the daylights out of me. In about 30 seconds, he did it too. Wow. That's the hardest 30 seconds I ever wrestled in my life. Well, trying to block him stomps and stuff's what I was doing.
Yeah. I've always heard that the Stomper had like the most tremendous cardio of just like they said that he wouldn't blow up, that he could stomp you for half the night out there, and the guy would never just.
Wow, man. Yeah, and he wore them big old boots. He had them high like riding boots or something, but they was big. And you thought when he went to kick you, but it was nice, you know. I mean, I'm sure he'd had kicked a couple of people, but he beat me up so quick that I didn't feel no stomps, you know. Yeah.
There is something to be said of losing quick sometimes when it's that,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, if you ain't going to win, you might as well get whooped quick if it's Mongolian Stomper. I ain't lying. But that's appropriate for me to beat him in Nashville, though. So I didn't even know that. I was always scared of him. So, yeah, that's good to know. Maybe he did do something to me. I'm a little punch drunk.
You had that hometown advantage there. So then you won the Mid-America Tag Team title with Ken Lucas. You guys beat the Samoans Tapu and Tio, and that was at the Fairgrounds in Nashville as well. That was February 9th, 1977. Now, that's a guy that some younger people may not know much about. Tell us a little bit about Ken Lucas.
Oh, Ken was a heck of a guy. He was funny. I'll tell you quick story. We were in a little town right outside of Dougie, coming toward Corinth. A little town there, Eddie Marlin always ran it. But anyway, it was a 6-man tag. It was me, and I think it might have been Eddie. It was Eddie or Doug, and then somebody else. But anyway, Ricky had got his head busted open on Memphis TV that morning. So we had Ricky in the ring, and we was tagging in there, just beating the daylights out of him. He went to give the big tag. It was Ken that got his head busted, and Ken had blood all in his face. Well, Ricky give him the hot tag. He come in, and he couldn't see it was Ricky. Got Ricky in a headlock and hit him. He did that rabbit, that fast punch. He punched him about 7, 8, 10 times. And Bill, them people didn't know what to think. And we all up there just laughing our ass off. Yeah.
They think he's got turned on Ricky Morton.
They were like, but they didn't know what to do. That was a good funny one. Yeah.
I've never heard of that. That's awesome. That's poor Ricky Morton. So then in April of 77, you and Bill Dundee become the Southeastern Tag Team Champions. You guys win that in Memphis, defeating the Von Steigers. You mentioned them earlier. This was Carl and Kurt Von Steiger.
Well, maybe his name was Von Steiger too. I just thought his name was Otto Van Halen.
Well, he did team with him too. They
he did then. Okay, yeah. So I ain't crazy then.
No, you're not. You call that one right. Now, here's a fun one. Too bad Doug ain't here for this. We've talked about it in the past, though. June 27th, 1977, Tommy Rich and Tommy Gilbert defeat the Bicentennial Kings of Dennis Condrey and Phil Hickerson right there at the Mid-South Coliseum. Wish there was footage of that. I would love to see that.
Oh, and then, and Phil and them, they get Dennis Condrey and Phil Hickerson together. Well, I'm sure you've seen them wrestle together.
Oh, yeah.
What a tag team they were. I mean, to wrestle with Tommy, like I said, I started Tommy, I was making the trips with Tommy and Eddie. So get to do that, man, a lot of landmarks in this business. I done some of them, just a memory, but yeah, that's when it first started, man. That's how I got to know the Gilbert family, because I'd go to see Tommy and, we just got to hanging out. And here come Eddie and here come Dougie, man. And so we've been thick for a long time, since about 75, probably.
Yeah. I wish, there's quite a bit of footage out there of Phil Hickerson, but I know a lot of younger people, they only really kind of remember that PY Chu Hi run he had at the end of, Texas and everything. And And a lot of people only think of Dennis with the Midnight Express, but man, that Condrey and Hickerson team was awesome.
They sure were. You know where he got that P.Y. Chong from?
Mm-mm.
You know where he got that name?
No.
He went to Japan, and they had this drink called P.Y. Chu Hi. And I've been, and I told Phil about it. Anyway, evidently he drank. Of course, it probably wouldn't take but a couple, but he got toe up on that stuff, and that's when he come up with that idea. Yeah, P.Y. Chong. Yeah.
That's awesome. I've always wondered where that name came from. So that's
went to Japan. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, there we go. We're
seeing. But as far as Phil, you talking about a big man that could move like a little man. I mean, he would keep up with you now, and he wasn't like a bodybuilder or he was kind of like a big beer belly guy. Phil probably weighed 260, 270, but moved like he weighed 210. So, and he was always there, and he had a real good, and especially him and Dennis together, their timing, how you do the double spots and stuff. They just were really good.
Some of those guys back in the day was like deceptively, they were big guys like Phil Hickerson and Roger Smith and Don Bass. I mean, those guys were like heavy guys, but they could go like, they was in better shape than they appeared, I guess.
Yeah. And that's like Jerry Blackwell, man. He threw a better drop kick than I could, and he a little short fella. Jerry wasn't real tall. He was about as wide as he was tall, but he could throw one of the prettiest drop kicks you ever seen.
The first time I saw him do that, I was like, wait, what was that? What just happened? That guy just threw a drop kick?
Yeah.
And I remember showing my dad one of his matches. I said, look, this guy's going to throw a drop kick. He started laughing. He's like, okay, yeah. And then a couple minutes later, he did one. He was like, whoa, what?
That was an amazing feat. I mean, because everybody thought the same thing. Because he could do stuff. I mean,
now, we talked about this just recently, but in September of 1977 and then again in December, you and Tony Atlas won the Georgia Tag Team titles. Of course, we talked about that big tournament you guys won and beat a number of big tag teams in that tournament. So we won't go through that again, but then you won the NWA Macon Heavyweight Championship. And I see like there's a Macon title, there's a Columbus title, so around this time, did each the big cities in the territory have kind of their own title that just got defended in that city? Is that what's going on there?
Yeah, well, and like Macon and Columbus, they were like I don't know but they all had their own belt. Every town didn't have a belt, but Macon and Columbus.
I mean,
did.
the big.
The big ones did. And originally Macon, and I was going to say because of TV, because Columbus was a live TV, Columbus, Georgia was a live TV. But when Macon, when they first started it had a live TV too. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. But I know, they had the Columbus heavyweight, the Macon heavyweight. Yeah.
I'm sure they probably didn't call it the Macon heavyweight title. They probably called it something else at the time, but here to distinguish that it was in Macon. But I make mention of it because this was a tournament to crown a champion, and you defeated Stan Hansen in that final. So I figure that's worth mentioning. That's a pretty tall order to go through a whole tournament and end up beating Stan Hansen in the end. So we want to give you credit for that for sure.
Well, thank you very much. And I probably still dinged out at that one too. Stan wasn't the lightest man in the world beating on you either.
No.
I'm kind of like an old Timex man. I get dog stink beat out of him, but I still keep on ticking. Yeah. Stan, I always said he couldn't see. He'd say, man, if he took his glasses, I can't see. But I think he can see, but he just used that for an excuse to beat the daylights out of him.
Well, who's going to call him on it, right?
But he come in, and like with Stan come, it was a heel, him and Ole teamed up, and then he switched babyface, and me and him teamed up, and so I got to wrestle with him, and I got to wrestle against him, and what a great guy, man. You look at him, and he betrayed what he was at the building, but he was a gentleman away from the building, But him like Bruiser Brody, man, they stayed in character pretty much.
I bet that was a long night when you wrestled Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody over there in Japan because, those guys were rough, but they were rougher over there.
it was wide open. I was over in Japan when they would team up, and him and Brody, they beat the daylights out of them boys, and then you know how Stan's got that bull rope.
Yeah.
They'd come out of that ring, and it'd be like a part of the Red Sea, man. Stan started swinging that thing, and Brody be acting all crazy, and them son of a guns would about trample each other to death trying to get out of their way.
Like Godzilla coming through for them.
Oh, yeah. It's just like you only see on TV.
Yeah. So you won the Georgia Tag Team titles again, but this time your partner went Tony Atlas. This time on March 31st, 1978, there in Atlanta, Tommy Rich and Thunderbolt Patterson beat the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, Lars and Ole Anderson. And you and Thunderbolt actually would win it a couple of times there. How was Thunderbolt Patterson as a tag team partner?
Hello? No.
Was that I'm guessing that was a long night of you and there getting stretched by the Andersons while he waited for that big tag over there and gyrated.
Yeah. And... Thunderbolt, I always got along with him. I mean, so you hear a lot of stories about Thunderbolt. Me and him, I tell you what I did. Me and him went on I had some reason I don't never, use it. If it wasn't me and Tony, I used to go, but I mean, they're like Brad. We had a little crew we hung out with. But anyway, somehow, I ended up, Thunderbolt had a Eldorado convertible that he won in a tag team tournament, and in a tournament they had the car. He won the tournament and told him because you'd win the thing, but you still had to pay for it.
Right.
Thunderbolt told him to take it back, so they take it back to the car dealership. He wasn't paying for it. So anyway, they ended up paying for it for him. So Thunderbolt was pretty dang smart. Yeah, but I always got along with him. So anyway, I left TV with him for some reason to go to Columbus TV. And he said, "You want something to eat?" We done smoked a big old fat one. He rolling bigger than knuckle. And so by the time we got from downtown out to the farmer's market, we probably done smoked 2 or 3. Anyway, I thought we was going to stop and get something. He pulls us into farmer's market, and we get a bunch of fruit, and we take on off. So anyway, we'd eat some and then do a couple more maybe. And finally, I told Thunderbolt, I said, "I don't want more fruit, and I don't want to smoke no more." Yeah. I ain't never voted tally in on smoking. But Thunderbolt, he liked to smoke. Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks. It can be done. You can smoke.
I can't drink with Andre, and I can't smoke with Thunderbolt.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com. And to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to uswapodcast.com.
So here you won on January 10th, 1979. You won the Columbus version of the heavyweight title. Eventually, you would lose it to Stan Hansen. So ironically, you won the Macon title from Hansen. You ended up losing the Columbus title to Hansen. But in the process, you beat Luke Graham, Angelo Mosca, several different people. Then
Luke Graham, you know who that is?
I know of him and I've read about him. I've never really seen any footage of him. I just seen magazines and articles and stuff.
Oh, Crazy Luke, he was quite the character too. He was a big old boy, with that beer belly and stuff.
Yeah.
But he was like supposed to be kin to the Grahams, Superstar Billy Graham and them up there. But he went his Crazy Luke, and he did a deal where he taped his thumb up, and that would be he'd load the thumb and do the deal to you. That you'd either be your head be busted or the match would be over, Yeah, but he was quite. Yeah, that was. You didn't see. I ain't thought about it forever, and he didn't do a whole lot, but what he did, he did the crazy thing too, and he did it good. Like them guys would stay in character. I mean, and he could do crazy really good.
I have seen a couple of his promos, and like I said, him doing the character, and for people listening, if you want to picture what Crazy Luke Graham looks like, he kind of looks like what a Moondog would look like in Memphis later years, if that's kind of along the lines here. So in June of '79, you would win the Georgia Tag Team titles again, but this time alongside Wahoo McDaniel, and you guys defeated. Let's see. You and Wahoo defeated Ole Anderson and Ivan Koloff in a tournament final to win those titles. And it was also a double Cadillacs match. So the tag titles were on the line. Cadillacs were on the line. Boy, y'all
I paid for
good on that one.
I paid for mine. And I didn't win a Cadillac. I went and got me a Trans Am, that old midnight blue Trans Am.
Hey.
That's what I won. They said Cadillac, but that was my present to myself.
Nice.
But now you talk about another crazy one down at Wahoo. I love the Chief, man. He was wild. He'd go 24/7 if he could.
Man, I tell you what, you won the title, the Georgia Tag Team title with a string of tough guys. So you won it with Wahoo, and then in August you win it alongside Stan Hansen. You guys defeated Ivan Koloff and Ole Anderson, that time in a lumberjack match in Augusta, Georgia.
Let me tell you this one. Let me tell you this match in Marietta, Georgia, at the Cobb Civic Center. It's me and Stan against Ole and Ivan. We come in, and Ole got me and Ivan standing, sitting there together. He said, "What y'all want to do?" Stan looked at him and said, "Damn it, Ole." He said, "This is your job as booker. Yeah, you get paid for that." He said, "What do you want to do?" Ole said, "Well, fine then. We'll go on our Broadway." And I mean, it was sold out.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, y'all could sure beat me a lot quicker than going to our Broadway. So anyway, we go out there. We go on our Broadway. Come back. And this is on a Sunday night when they run Cobb Civic Center. So people got to get up, go to work. And kids got to go to school, whatever. So the next week, we come back in a 90-minute time limit. Come in, same situation. Oh, what do y'all want to do? Stan said the same thing. So I think he said, what the hell? It's your job. I told you that last week or something. Anyway, it's a fine then. We'll go 90 minutes. And I thought he was playing by then.
Oh, my God.
So, and it's sold out again. Usually after, you go our Broadway, folks kind of lay off because that's a lot by the time the matches, and then you go our Broadway. You getting out of there late. So we go out, do the 90 minutes.
Wow.
Come back the next week in a 2-hour time limit, sold out again. Stan said, except this time, I don't know if Stan was trying to use reverse psychology on him or just didn't give a damn one. He said, only said the same thing. What y'all want to do? Now this time I'm ready to stand up and put my hand up. Beat me. Stan said, we ought to do what we've been doing every week. Just go Broadway. It's sold out. Ole says, okay, then let's go a 2-hour Broadway. That's a long time.
Wow. Good Lord.
And the people that we had the crowd, so we get going in the match, and I'm thinking, God almighty. And so we go on, hour passes, get down to an hour and a half passes. And so anyway, about hour 45 minutes, I think I remember saying hour and 45 minutes, I'm in there with Ole. He beating the dog stink out of me. He shoots me in. He said, or he goes, puts me in the rope. He said, duck the clothesline, Fez press. I thought to myself, hell no, I want to do the 2 hours now. They go the hour and a half, and I want to do the 2 hour too. Yeah. Anyway, he said, duck the clothesline, hit me with your press. So I hit him with that press, and then people was happy for us to get out of there, get the belts as they were, But for 3 weeks in a row, from an hour to 2 hour match, and sold it out every time, man.
Man.
That's back when wrestling was wrestling.
You ain't kidding. And they believed because That's a lot of time to watch the same four guys wrestle, especially 3 weeks in a row. So, man, you guys had them.
Yeah. Oh, and the business. I mean, we of course everybody was doing good business back then, but it was it was. I mean, it was just unreal because every week we thought it was going to be bad, and it just kept selling out.
Now, the next person that you won the Georgia Tag Team titles was this is your 8th Georgia Tag Team title at this point, October 5th, 1979. You and the Crusher defeated Ivan Koloff and Ole Anderson in a steel cage match in Atlanta. And the Crusher, big star up in Milwaukee and everything, not as well known down south. How did he get over in Georgia?
Oh, he was a kid, by reputation, I knew him. I mean, like from the wrestling magazines. I mean, he wasn't as well known, but of course he had the blonde hair, sandy blonde hair, and big old short, big fella. I mean, he got your attention, especially with that interview, so he was, and for me, that's why they always put me, because I'd get the dog stick beat out of me, and then I'd do the tag, so I was always good with that, because it give you a good combination, So, but he was real cool. I mean, I just mostly seen him at the building. He didn't travel in my ring of fellas, but he was real nice.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, what I was noticing looking at that line of tag team partners. Yeah, I could look at it and go, you can see whose role is what here in these tag team matches. Like, I know Tommy had some long nights here. So then you won the Georgia heavyweight title October 26, 1979 by defeating Killer Carl Cox at the Municipal Auditorium. What can you tell us about Killer Carl Cox?
They did a lot of that crazy back then. You remember Killer Carl Cox?
I haven't seen, again, he's another one that I read a lot about, but I really hadn't got it. There's not a lot of footage of him, but I have seen some, and I've read a lot of
He
stuff.
come out on Atlanta TV one day, had a damn kitchen sink. He was just off the wall crazy, where these others were other kind of crazy. Everybody was a different kind of crazy, but that's crazy.
What I've read of him, he was a fun character. Then February 23rd, 1980, you won the National Television Championship from Austin Idol right there in the TBS studios in Atlanta. 4 minutes and 36 seconds you got to win over Austin Idol.
Oh, it'd take me long to whoop him. He'd have beat Jerry Lawler if I had to been there that night. You know that as well as I do.
Well, that's documented. That's a fact. That's not speculation for sure.
I mean, bless his heart.
Oh, yeah, you guys would cross paths again, but we'll get there eventually. Then we go back to Memphis. You've won the Southern Heavyweight Championship again, September the 1st, 1980, when you defeated Handsome Jimmy Valiant there at the Mid-South Coliseum.
Now, I remember that one. Whew, them folks, they love Boogie to death. Handsome Jimmy, man. Old Mill Foe, he said. Yeah, they was mad about that.
Yeah, you had some interesting dealings with Handsome Jimmy over the years there in Memphis for sure.
Well, him and Tojo pushed my mama down.
Exactly. I watched that just recently, actually, and somebody asked me that actually. Somebody sent it, and they're wanting me to ask it in one of the Q&As, but I told them, I said, well, we kind of talked about it, but not. We didn't talk about this aspect of it. So since it came up, I guess we could mention it right here. I'm sure he's listening. Whose idea was it Jerry Jarrett that talked your mom into being involved in that? Whose idea was it for her to do it? Was it Jerry Jarrett or was it yours?
Yeah.
Or who?
Yeah, it would have been Jerry.
Okay. Because that's what the guy asked me. He said, do you know whose idea it was? And I said, I don't know. And I said, but I'm guessing probably been Jerry Jarrett. I said, because at that age, I don't think Tommy would be like, hey, Mom, you want to come do an angle on TV?
They asked me to ask, would you? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it would be your idea. Like, it'd be really cool if I could have my mom out here on TV.
Yeah. Can I make Mommy? Sound like George Gulas.
Exactly. They would have called you Mama's boy for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. I can't remember who asked me that question.
And the only reason she did that was because for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they give her a payday, and that tickled her. So she was cool with it. But I mean, she went on else. She was one with me and Harley. She come down to Atlanta when I wrestled Harley. She come down and did with Wolfie D.
Yeah.
So yeah, old Peg, she got into it.
She did a great job with that promo. When I watched it again the other day, it was a pretty substantial promo. It wasn't like just y'all gave her 2 lines to go out there and say, she had a pretty good bit of stuff to say, and she delivered it well. And
the difference is like today and then she didn't have no lines. They just told her to go out there and speak the truth about her son. Mama talk all day about her baby.
So it wasn't like today where she gets handed a script like, here, we need you to memorize this. You got 30 minutes.
If they'd have told her to do that, then she probably wouldn't have done good. But they could tell it was from the heart why it was good, because she was sincere,
Yeah.
So she's been there on time quite a few times.
And she had the great Lance Russell out there to play off of as well, and that never hurts for sure. So then we got your third Southern Tag Team title run with Superstar Bill Dundee. You guys defeated Guy Mitchell and Roger Kirby at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. That's some names that haven't come up here on the show before. What can you tell us about Guy Mitchell and Roger Kirby?
Dang, I don't remember very much. Roger Kirby, though, I remember he had the blonde hair, I don't know, his nose been broke, but he come down, he's got a big crook in it. And he worked out all the time. He was, and just he loved to drink that beer too. That's probably why me and him got along. But yeah, he was a heck of a nice guy. We worked with him. He was always, and that's the difference too. Back then, didn't nobody really have, you might not, just because we didn't go out and eat together, didn't mean we wasn't friends. It's like a dressing room friendship, where I'm sure it's not like that in today's world, especially on some of these independents I go on. Got a little bunch sitting over here and a little bunch over here. Back then, everybody got along. And plus, it's so much different. You had to get along because you wrestled 6 days or 7 days a week. So you couldn't be mad at somebody. You had to sit down and get your differences out and get it worked out, because you can't. It's hard to, if they see the situation, they try to ease it up. But I actually don't remember too much of that even going on. It was, the 70s and 80s, man, that was a happy time.
Well, I'll tell you who Guy Mitchell went on to become. He went up north and became Gentleman Jerry Valiant and stepped in.
Oh, okay.
He kind of traded places almost with Jimmy. Jimmy come down here, and Jerry teamed with Johnny for the WWF as Gentleman Jerry. Then eventually he kind of moved down the card and became an enhancement guy. But more people know him as Jerry Valiant than they do Guy Mitchell. So that's just a little bit of trivia.
If you said Jerry Valiant, I'd have known. Now,
you won the titles with Bill Dundee again, and this time you guys won them from the Bounty Hunters, which is, Jerry Novak and what's the other Novaks? Jerry Novak and Nick. Yeah, there you go. So what do you remember? Have any memories of those guys, the Bounty Hunters? They were around for quite a while, right?
Oh yeah. Jimmy Kent used to work on Jerry Jarrett's farm and supposed to break the horses and clean the stalls and stuff. And anyway, he gave them callous mouth, that where if you pull the reins, they don't stop, they don't turn, they don't do nothing because they got calluses in their mouth. Well, he fired him. That's the summer I started working for Jerry on his farms. Right after he fired Jimmy Kent. And but anyway, remember I told you that I was going with Eddie Marlin and Tommy to Evansville, Indiana one night on a Wednesday night. And I'm probably 13, maybe 12 to 14, say. But anyway, I'm in the back seat and we're going along. All of a sudden we come up on this car and Eddie Marlin and Tommy both turned at them, start cussing them and shooting them birds and stuff. And I look over and it's the Bounty Hunters. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking, oh my God, they fixing to fight, man, for real. Because I was on the fence about what was what.
Right.
But then when I seen this, I'm thinking, oh my God, I started sliding down the seat. I didn't want to see me in there. Anyway, that was my first experience with the Bounty Hunters, but they was a good tag team, boy.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about them over the years. And so that was a Southern Tag Team title win, which brings us to May 1st, 1981. Do you remember what title you won and who you won it from on that date?
From Harley Race in Augusta, Georgia.
There it is, the big one.
Some of them you don't forget.
Can't forget that one.
Yes.
And, here's the thing, a lot of people go like, well, Tommy got a win over Harley. Well, what people don't always remember is, so on the 27th, you beat Harley Race for the title in Augusta. The next night, you defended it successfully against Harley in Macon. The following night, you defended again successfully against Harley in Columbus. The night after that, you beat Harley again in Rome. And then on the fifth night, Harley did regain it in Gainesville. But my goodness, kid your age, if you wrestle Harley Race every single night, he's eventually going to win, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of set up to fail there, Tommy. Sometimes people give you a hard time and go, oh, well, he didn't hold the title real long. Like, well, my God, he wrestled Harley Race of all people every single night for the next, week. Yeah, you're only going to beat him so many times before he's going to slip one in on you. So,
hey, I'm going to tell you what, though, Harley to me, he was the ring general of all of us.
Yeah.
Harley just knew what to do, when to do it. And Harley would work whatever, like wherever he went, he would wrestle each one of them style. Like some guys, they'll have the same match with me as they do you. Where Harley would switch, he'd work their kind of match.
Yeah, I don't know, when people say NWA World Champion, just by itself, Harley Race is who comes to my mind. Like, he to me is kind of the consummate NWA champion, just like when somebody says AWA champion, I think Nick Bockwinkel. Like, to me, they're two of the greatest world champions, and they just kind of represent what you think when you think about a world champion wrestling, just all the way around, the whole package of being able to talk, being able to wrestle, the way they carried themselves, and Harley being
good one too. That's another one that would be right there with Harley.
Yeah, they are two of the all-time greats, and to be able to say, there's been a lot of people since then that's held this, more recent version of an NWA title. But to say you were an NWA World Champion and you beat Harley Race for it, to me, man, that's something that's just worth more than money. You know what I mean? Like that's just so cool in the history of wrestling to be one of the rare few that got to win the title and compete with a guy like Harley Race.
Very long, and because you don't get that many opportunities, get to go for the world heavyweight title. Like we were talking earlier, I was a Southern heavyweight champion 2 or 3 times or whatever. And because you're there working every day, and so they have to work angles and stuff. But to be in that category with, Dory Funk, Harley, and them guys, Ric Flair, even, he's a hell of a showman, so to just be in that category, you can say what you want, but I was there.
But, there was only 6 or 7 guys that ever beat Harley Race, and you're one of them. He brags about all his world titles, but that means 16 people beat Ric Flair at one time or another for the world title. So you're in rare company there, being one of the few that beat Harley Race. So we say that at least. But
I love Harley Race, man. Now you talk about somebody that showed me a lot, and he wasn't really trying, because I would when I first started, I watched a lot of the matches, but then then you know which ones to watch and whatever. But anytime Harley come to town, and I don't care if he was going an hour, I would always sit and watch his matches. I was in awe. I seen him I can't remember where we were at, but we was in a town one night, and he was the big heel. Well, the babyface, something happened to the babyface, he couldn't come. And I seen Harley go out there in front of that crowd, and in a 2-minute promo, he went from being the most hated son of a gun in that building to being the biggest cheered for one in that building. He took it 2 minutes and 3 minutes, whatever, but he turned it and then went in the ring, and they tore tore it down, you know. So in order to do that, you got to be a very special person.
Yeah, that's another underrated thing about NWA World Champions back in that day is when you're traveling around these territories, depending on where you're going and who the top challenger is, you may need to go in and be the most evil heel in the world, and you might need to go in to be the most, loved babyface. And guys like him, like you said, in the course of a promo, could be either one, depending on who that challenger was going to be. And that takes, like you say, that takes a special talent. Not just anybody can do that. So, another thing that stands out to me about Harley was if you go back and look through these results, and I know, like I've heard some interviews with his son talking about it recently. The schedule he kept, man, he was traveling to all these different territories and, overseas and everything. And man, the guy was just all over the place defending that title. I know he's not the only one, but he kept a more rigorous schedule than most,
And it was, and back then, the schedule was harder, because now they got their jets and all this stuff now. But like when Harley did it, and he'd come into, like he'd fly in, he might be there 2 or 3 days, and then he'd take off from, say, Florida up to Minnesota or whatever, go across the country, and then get out of the car, get in the car, and go wrestle, So, yeah, you had to be a special person to do that.
Absolutely. Well, we're about getting down to the end here, but before we run out of time, let's take a look at a couple more. You and Bill Dundee became what at the time was billed as the CWA World Tag Team Champions. You and Bill defeated Austin Idol and Dutch Mantell at the Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. Wow, Dutch and Austin Idol. I bet that was a fun match.
Oh, yeah. Hey, both them work. Like I said, it's all business. Sometimes you might have to work a little harder than you did some other times. But this, we all adapted and did what we needed to do. But at Lexington, I just want to say that the Lexington, that Rupp Arena, man, it was electric there too, man. Them Kentucky folk love some wrestling.
They certainly do. They did, and they still do. And Rupp Arena is a nice place. I've actually been there a couple of times over the years. And man, but you talking about a match with just absolute Memphis legends there. You and Bill and Dutch Mantell and Austin Idol. That's what more could you want in one single match like that? So before we stop, we're going to have a stopping point right here, and it's going to be you winning the NWA National Heavyweight title on January 17th, 1982. You defeated the Masked Superstar at the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia. We've mentioned him here a couple times before, but man, Masked Superstar is one of my all-time favorites as far as like just one of the great heels of all time, that gimmick.
Oh, and say, but that's where like Ken Patera, guys like that, but Bill Eadie, just, they could tie me up in the night anytime they wanted to, but they seemed, and I was always yes or no, sir, but I respected what they did and how they got there too. But they didn't take advantage or just beat me up or nothing. They seen that I wanted to learn, and they, because it was up to them. If it hadn't been for all these guys, and that's another thing about how great all the talent was. You ain't named one person bad that I wrestled. You know what I'm saying? So the talent, from top to bottom was, it was good to the best. To where some of these now are poor to maybe good. But it was so, and I don't know if it's just cause I was yes or no, sir, but they all took interest in me. And it's like dancing, man. As long as you got somebody to lead that dance, and I had some of the best leaders in the world.
Absolutely. Well, they looked at you and they saw a guy that the crowd gets behind and who's there listening and working hard. And there was no reason for them not to want to try to work with you. Man, Bill Eadie is a guy who I find fascinating because he had like almost 3 different Hall of Fame careers. He had and 3 distinctly different characters. Like, he was the Mongol, and then he's the Masked Superstar, and then he was Demolition Axe, and those are three just completely different characters. Like most people, you couldn't convince them that was the same. Yeah, exactly.
Made money with all of them. Hey, let me tell you this real quick. I was doing a promo one time, and I was wrestling Superstar, and I said, I want to tell you something, Superstar Bill Eady. Excuse me. Yeah, I blurted that right out on the interview. And I didn't even think nothing about it until I got the back. I said, you know what you just did? You said, so they beeped it out or something. Yeah, I sure did. Superstar Bill Eady.
Oh, man. Well, here we are. It's already been an hour, and we've only gotten from 1975 up to 1982. My gosh, Tommy, you won way too many titles. This is going to be about a 5 or 6 part series eventually for us to get
show another time.
Hey, we got plenty more of these to do in the future, and another time we'll revisit this. But I'm hoping next week our buddy Doug will be back. We're gonna want to know how this Alaska trip went, and I want to talk to you guys about promos. We've had different questions asked, and that's a big part of the business, and something both of you guys were always good at. So we're gonna kind of dig into that and how they've evolved over the years and what their role is in professional wrestling, and talk all about it here next week on next week's episode. But I guess now we've said all we can say this week, Tommy. So once again, Doug's not here. You get to wrap this thing up.
First off, before we sign off, I want to say hey to everybody in Shawneetown and in Collinsville. We're going to be up there this weekend, Friday and Saturday, this coming Friday. Well, tonight.
Yeah.
So anyway, everybody turn out and thank everybody for tuning in. Comments, questions, hey, send them all in, man. We're here to answer. Hey, and as old Dougie says, peace out.
In the heart of Tennessee, born with pride, Doug and Tommy taking rings in stride. Memphis legends never backing down. Wrestling warriors, they wear the crown. You scurry away, glory in their veins. Fighting legends breaking chains. In the square circle they made their name. Podcast champions, it's their claim to fame. On the mic they roar, on the map they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Podcast kings ruling the waves. Memphis wrestling raising the stage. From title belts to Hall of Fame, Doug and Tommy carved the name. Fists of fury and hearts of gold. Every story, every fight retold. Tales of glory, laughter, pride. Tennessee warriors with hearts open wide. In the ring or on the air, legends living without a care. On the mic they roar, on the mat they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more.